Audio means I hear, video means I see. Trucks means it's time to kick back and relax. We're about, I would say 20 minutes away from the end of this Trucks now. So for the next 20 to 25, depending on our inexactitude, you can rest easily in my bosom and secure in the knowledge that you will not have to think too hard or be tormented too much by the sheer lassitude of everyday nothingness while I'm speaking.
Dang.
I have a subject in mind, which I came up with while I was doing laundry.
Oh, good.
And I have to, in fact, go flip my laundry. So in order to fill the time between putting the laundry in the washer and putting the laundry in the dryer, I suggest that we talk about the particular low-stakes serial entertainments that we use to parcel out our time, much in the same way that the viewer of the Trucks might use the Trucks for that purpose. Yes. So podcasts, podcasts adjacent items, and things which update on the Diggity Regular.
So the favored background noise.
Exactly. Because boredom is like chronic pain in this life, and
boredom invites the despair.
Exactly. And so this is stuff that is not like art, like high art. It's not something that requires a lot of thought, but it is the morphine drip of low-key distraction that keeps you from biting your knuckles off.
True. Okay.
So I've got a bunch of them that I think are particularly good and might be interesting, but you want me to lead with one of them while you compile your mental list, because I kind of dropped this fucker on you? Or
yeah, okay, that sounds good. I've got a couple already.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we got a couple. I think this is going to be a good, fast ramadula of back and forth. $1,300 for running a red light. Are you fucking kidding me?
In this world, people run red lights so often that they've made it a serious offense.
That is a hot pasta ball.
I guess maybe it's equivalent to me running the proportional number of red lights that I would actually encounter
in macro world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm having trouble getting up this hill.
Okay.
But what do you got?
While you make it up that hill, and I feel a little peculiar. Okay, so first thing that I'm going to recommend is a podcast called Janey Godley's Podcast. You can get this on iTunes and various other places. Janey Godley is a former Scotland Woman of the Year runner-up. She is a comedian. She has been a pub landlord. She's her husband was part of one of the great Glasgow crime families. She is you may have seen her actually on the internet holding up a sign that says "Trump is a cunt," because that went viral lately.
I don't think I did see it, but
yeah, it was out. It was out there. When Trump visited Scotland, she was there to meet him. And this podcast is just her and her daughter, mostly arguing, and arguing very fast. If you aren't relatively familiar with the Scottish dialect, you may have a little bit of trouble at first, but you'll pick it up. It's a good way to learn it. She is incredibly clever, irreplaceably filthy. Reminds me of my mom in some ways. Just a real good time. The politics may be slightly jarring to some of you. It's populist left grip on American history, not so good, but a lot of fascinating stuff about Scotland. You should probably
that
listen
sounds like
to
a
it.
good time.
It's once a week. It's like 20 minutes.
A mother-daughter podcast sounds like a refreshing antidote to the usual.
Yeah, this is one of those things.
The usual which we ourselves represent.
Yeah, and which we are currently providing to you right now.
Yeah.
But they're very good at it.
Cool.
That's what I'm saying. Josh, what do you use?
Oh, man. Well, I'll stick with the subject of podcasts for now. I have exactly one podcast that I can bring myself to listen to, and I usually use it as background noise for even more thoughtless video games, like this one, and also the game which is like this but in space. But those aren't the subject. The subject is the podcast Idle Thumbs. I'm pretty fond of Idle Thumbs. It takes the form of a group of video game peeps. There used to be a girl on it. Sadly, there isn't anymore.
Oh my god, the center cannot hold.
They gave her own podcast called Idle Weekend, which is also pretty good.
Right.
But these guys are mostly game developers themselves. A bunch of them recently put out Firewatch, which some of you may know. It's a pretty good game. But anyhow, the podcast takes the simple and comforting form of what game have you played this week, and what funny observations do you have about it. And these guys have good taste. They have taste that it was because of this podcast that I played the Talos Principle. So it kind of works as a game recommendation engine in that way. And also the kinds of things they say about games are insightful, entertaining, and they also take reader mail, which they have very smart readers who send them good emails. So it works.
All right, ping pong back into my court.
Yes, there you go.
I was reminded.
Okay.
Because on the latest episode of this, one of the regulars on the show recommended Firewatch.
Oh.
The show is called Pop Culture Happy Hour. It is from NPR. It is the regulars on the show are a woman who came up through through television without pity, and the recapping scene back when that was fresh. You remember the recapping scene? Recapping episodes of The Real World and of Big Brother and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There was a whole online industry around it almost for a while back when we were
thing.
Yeah, and there's a dude who came up through The Onion essentially, who was one of the big wheels on The Onion in the AV Club before he moved over to NPR, and a guy who talks kind of like I would if I was slightly better at this. Who's like an enormous gay man and comics nerd, and who is like devoid of hope and snarky and cutting. It's very good. He was the one who recommended Firewatch because he's the best of them. It gets NPR-y at times. It gets a little bit too NPR-y at times, but it is in the main a remarkably painless way of keeping abreast of what the culture is doing if looking directly at it is too much pain for you.
Yeah.
And they have guest hosts, they have guest panelists, some of whom are pretty good, and always a woman's voice, which is a good thing, pretty much.
Good. A brief tangent. I'm very bad at consuming audio passively.
Oh man, I love doing that.
Yeah, I know. I like it when I can bring myself to do it, but I need to be doing something with my hands at the time. Like, the only way lately I've been able to get myself to sit down and listen to an album or a podcast or anything of the sort is to give myself something easy to do in the meantime. Playing Destiny was it for a long time, and as I mentioned earlier, Trucks and Elite Dangerous. Do you have any advice, Isaac, on how to get myself to sit down and listen to a fucking album?
No, because I do exactly the same thing. I do it so naturally that I don't even view it as a problem. I mean, the great advantage of audio entertainment is that you can get shit that you need to do done while you're experiencing it.
I suppose that's true, but
it takes the natural edge of boredom off of the cleaning of the room or the washing of the dishes.
You don't feel as though that you might be robbing yourself of a certain pure experience of the audio in question? Like, when I find myself falling in love with an album while listening to it in the background of something, I find that I then irreversibly associate the album with whatever I was doing while listening to it, which feels like it may be doing... I mean, granted, this is going to happen no matter what. You're going to associate it with the room you were in or whatever it is, but I still feel like I may be able to do slightly less violence to the album in the way I consume it.
That is
so
inimical to my way of thinking that I almost had to pause, because it's rare that you say something that I feel is so completely wrong-headed. There is, of course, no such thing as the pure experience of listening to the album.
I know this.
And that is definitely some Arizona, though. Be still my beating heart. It is that color at this time of day, too.
Yeah.
Nice touch, everybody.
It's not like I want to lock myself in a fucking sensory deprivation chamber and then pipe in the album, right? It's just that this at times becomes inconvenient, you know? Sometimes I just want to listen to an album, and then I'm like, well, what else am I going to do? Like, I want the primary experience to be listening to the album, but instead I have to find some way to get in the saddle to find the proper chaser, you know?
May I recommend stretching?
Stretching. Nice. Yeah, that could work.
It's not a bad idea, generally, frankly.
Yeah.
Doing some light yoga.
I guess. I feel like my headphones might fall off.
Yeah, that's the risk you run. You can put on your speakers.
My speaker sucks for music.
Yeah, do it in the living room. Do it naked in the living room.
Ooh.
I sympathize, and one of the reasons that I like playing roguelikes is that they give me a machine to rattle my motor skills into while I listen to other things, and vice versa. You know, it's sort of the complete experience. It's a speedball.
Yeah, I mean,
of distractions.
Don't get me wrong. I treasure the association I have between Destiny and Autarker because those two things go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah. And I remember there was a time when I listened to CDs and I kept my CDs in a big wallet, and I could open up the wallet and point to a given CD and like the immediate like sensory perception. I could almost see where I was when I had the particular moment of listening to that album and sort of cluing into that album.
Yeah.
My mind was just sort of a scrapbook of moments in time, which is one of the reasons why I love music. I can't really do that as much anymore, but there are certain because I've listened to way too much music, but there's still stuff like that is indelible, like, you know, listening to field music's Tones of Town while I was demolishing and rebuilding a pantry. It was a perfect combination of factors, and it sticks with me to this day. Really, actually, you could still probably say any given album and I would be able to tell you what it was, even if it was just standing in our living room, which is what is likely to be with
that has been it for a lot of
recent
Horse Lords is a particularly good one.
Horse Lords. Yeah, I'm going to put on Horse Lords while I make pasta later, because
Excellent.
I haven't.
Excellent. Have we even broken that record in yet properly?
No, we've only played it the once. It was just such an experience the one time that we did play.
Horse Lords, good background music for when you're doing whatever.
Yeah. So that's Josh's recommendation. Horse Lords.
Mostly for I just need to get my brain onto something for a minute. Mostly I don't use audio. I use mobile games.
Mm-hmm.
A favorite one lately has been skiing Yeti Mountain. This is a game I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. Actually, it's adjacent to desert golfing in a way. A game I have talked about on this channel before. And if you don't know desert golfing, you should definitely check it out because it's a masterpiece. But skiing Yeti Mountain is a perfect little distillation of the feeling of. If you remember Ski Free, it's kind of like how you remember that game being. It's about gliding down the mountain with your thumb rolling lightly across the glass of your screen. And occasionally it ruins the vibe by having a character who is like one of several characters, all of whom are mean-spirited parodies of cliched maniacs like yoga middle-aged women and gun-toting, bunker-dwelling military weirdos. But
boo, social commentary.
Yeah, besides that though, what a perfect little Zen experience, flying down that mountain as fast as you can, and the little bing bing of having cleared the par time of a course, and the 30-second bite-sized chunks it comes in. It's compulsive.
Social commentary is harder than most other kinds of humor.
That's very true.
And people who are not experts should not attempt it. Here's I'm going to posit something here.
Yeah.
I think the purest form of audio brain candy is the quiz show.
Oh.
Is like
that FBI car.
You need
me. That's not FBI.
It's a local police, county, it's a state trooper. I don't know, man. You're in Arizona. Anything goes. Latte mania. Anyway, is the best kind of just like pure noise for your brain is the quiz show. You know, and you might lock in and try to answer the questions, but the best ones are the ones where you don't know the answer to the vast majority of the questions. So like anything like that NPR tries to do with quiz shows, bullshit, not nearly hard enough. You need the BBC. The BBC Radio 4 once a week at a particular time on Monday, which you can then listen to for like weeks afterward on the internet, just airs one of several quiz shows. There's a music quiz show, there's a general knowledge quiz show, and then there is my favorite, which is the cryptic crossword style quiz show, where you are trying to lateral think your way into a pretzel. They basically just say a sentence which doesn't make any sense, and then it's like, oh, I believe we're talking about, you know, Guam or whatever, you know. Which is my favorite by far. But that's one where it's like you don't get members of the public into play it. You have people who only do this, who have teams that like stay teams for years and years and years, who come in to do these. Like there's no prizes; they just compete in this because that's how their brains work.
Nice.
But anyway,
it's a dangerous balance, the quiz show. It has to be stated, because if you tune into like the game show network, you're going to get, instead of that, you're going to get the kind of crap which can just ruin several hours by like somehow brainwashing you into focusing in on your family feud. You know, what is something that changes about a woman after you marry her? I've got to think of 7 things that 100 members of the public would have come up with, and I've got to laugh and laugh when these idiots on the stage say something which is wrong, which is just something no one would ever say.
Look, that's why I said audio only, first of all. Jeopardy is the closest thing that you can get to on TV to this feeling.
Yeah, I mean...
But Jeopardy is also too easy.
Family Feud works fine with just the audio.
The point is to feel like you're learning something. Because you are... What a quiz show functions as, if you don't know most of the answers, is just a gentle barrage of facts.
Yeah.
And none of which you retain.
Yeah.
But you feel like you could retain them, and so it feels vaguely wholesome while you're doing it. And it basically allows you to space out entirely otherwise, because there's no narrative to hold on to.
Yeah.
You know, it's great. It's my single favorite way to just kill time. And I wish that there were more of them. So yeah, go to BBC Radio 4 on the web. Look for Counterpoint. Look for Brain of Britain, and in particular, look for Round Britain Quiz. Yeah. Round Britain Quiz is the shit.
Is it my turn again? I guess it is.
Yeah.
While I'm on mobile games, have I breached the format in some way by discussing mobile games instead of podcasts? Okay.
Nope.
Because I don't listen to
this was not meant to be a podcast.
Good.
Trucka.
The train passes by. I don't believe I've yet mentioned on Trucks a little game.
It's an incredibly short train.
They're all short. It's like us are in micro world. I don't think I've mentioned on Trucks a little game called Imbroglio, which is an absolutely
the guitar noodling simulation.
Yes, it's an absolutely perfect little confection, because it's a roguelike condensed to a 4x4 grid, but it maintains all the complexity you want. The central system of this game is complicated to explain, but essentially every tile of this 4x4 grid, each tile of the dungeon, whose walls regenerate every time you get the scory thing. Each tile of the floor is a weapon, and only when you're standing on that tile can you use the weapon it represents. And each weapon has different characteristics, and the weapons each level up differently from one another as you use them more. And you, before you enter the dungeon, choose what the layout of weapons on the floor is. So you both have the dungeon crawling experience of maneuvering yourself properly, and a kind of deck building experience of attempting to optimize what you're going in with. And my god, the amount of it's not an approachable game, but you learn it relatively quickly, and once you do, the degree of complexity,
the amount of tweaking that you can get into.
Yeah. Like there's so much push and pull in this tight little space. It's an atom of a game, you know. It's perfect. And as Isaac alluded to, every little noise in the game is a little guitar strum of some kind. So playing the game has a musical feeling to it.
One of my favorite little moments at the house in recent memory is when Josh was playing this and I got my guitar out and started jamming along to the burst of sound. I got pretty good at imitating the particular mess of twangs that comes out of the sucker. All right, here's my thing. This is possibly the nichest of things, but it is a real favorite of mine. So there's this thing called the New Generation Project podcast, right? And this is a podcast that is dedicated to chronicling every pay-per-view that happened during what is called the New Generation era of the WWF.
Oh my god.
Which is the era between the classic golden era that everybody loves and the Attitude Era that everybody loves. It's the sort of the difficult bit between those two, when the WWF is not doing very well. Podcasts that chronicle the golden era and the Attitude Era already existed. Of course. And these people basically took the basic format of those and ran with it. But there's something about these people who are like from Sheffield, I think, who are just like from an incredibly nondescript part of the UK, and and have like these very sort of minor but specific interests between the three of them. Like they're like, you know, one of them likes doing math, and one of them is, you know, his specialty is rating the mullets, and you know, they like brings Alan Partridge and Bruce Springsteen, and they're just a bunch of they're three extremely inoffensive, amiable nerds.
Yeah.
And
the kinds of people who would choose to document the
exactly
unpopular middle child of wrestling.
Exactly. They're utterly unflappable. And I would wager that I mean I don't know, because I'm actually very interested in the stuff that they're talking about, but I would wager that even if you did not have the first clue about wrestling, there might be something like deeply pleasant just about the delivery that these people bring to the table, because it is just so they're so utterly comfortable in the unimportance of what they're doing that it pleases me, and they're not unfunny, you know. So I heartily recommend checking out the New Generation Project podcast, even if you have absolutely no interest in the subject matter.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting how much of this kind of media is coming to mind, despite the fact that I have a pretty loose understanding of what kind of media it is we're actually discussing. Just the way it wraps around your brain in an effortless way. Passive entertainment, I suppose, is what it is.
Yeah, it's the stuff that I actually probably spend the majority of my time by weight experiencing, like far more than I spend experiencing anything that I would classify as like important or good.
Yeah.
This is like the background texture of my life.
But much of this stuff is important or good. Well, important in some way. I think Imbroglio is an important piece of game design if you're interested in micro roguelikes. You know, if that's the kind of thing you're studying, then it's something you should look at.
Yeah, but that's still not the way that you're experiencing it. You're experiencing it as a cat's cradle.
Yeah, totally. For a lot of people, I think this is TV, but I struggle with TV.
Yeah, we don't really do TV, the two of us. I have a hard time.
I do it, but I hate it.
I have a hard time sitting through video because, again, it stops me from doing the other thing. You know, it stops me from doing the twiddly work or something haptic, something interactive, something physical, and so I end up just skipping around a lot.
Yeah,
and so
sometimes that is what you want from your passive entertainment, right? Something to, as you say, kill time, fill a few hours, right?
Yeah.
Something to just get you through the next little moment in your life.
Exactly.
But TV often does so in such a gross way.
And TV is really bad for the most part.
Yeah.
Even this era, which is theoretically like the best era of TV that, you know, people keep talking about how good TV is. Like, the thing about
everybody got to stop copying Breaking Bad if we're going to have a good era of TV again.
Yeah, and like this actually ties into a thing that I was talking about earlier. I don't even remember what, on this massive like melange of no effort entertainment that we do. The problem with most TV is that it's written. There is actually stuff on TV that I can watch happily in the same way that I do watch, or that I do these podcasts or stuff, and that is like the best of reality competition shows. Stuff like Bake Off, or Chopped, or Face Off.
Guess what? I'm out of fuel.
Oh, this is a very, very bad place to run out of fuel. Oh my God. Well, there's
the Arizona and Nevada deserts are such challenges when it comes to remembering to refill before it's too late.
Everything is too pretty. You're 24 minutes away from your thing. I think that it is incumbent upon you to...
Let's see how this goes.
To coast to a halt in the desert.
We've got some downhill here.
Yeah, pick up some momentum. Oh my God, wouldn't that be amazing if a train came?
It just passed by you.
Yeah, no, I saw it. I saw it. It was just like... That would be just the icing on the cake. Oh my God, this is what I was going to say is that, like, if you're bothered by bad art, and most art is bad, then you're going to be bothered by most episodic television. But television, which is mostly about the people on it just saying things and not trying to be creative, bypasses that for me. I'm much less cringy about like talk show stuff, even if it's a little bit like naff.
Yeah.
Because it does not bear the imprint of a writerly thumb. You know?
Yeah.
On the scales of entertainment, if I can do that, which I shouldn't have. Oh my God.
Look at Kayenta in the distance. It's kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
The unreachable oasis.
It looks incredibly attractive now that we have no means of propelling ourselves closer to it.
We might get there eventually.
I think that you should not get towed until you have come to a complete stop.
Yeah, let's ride this out. I mean, I'm so close to where I'm going. I could just...
Now, we talked about this being audio entertainment, that, like, you know, most people I think have it on in the background. If anything else, they're not actually looking at the Truckscape while we truck for the most part. But
I hope that when we remark on something...
this is the time to tune in.
Yeah.
Because this is nail-biting.
I mean, what's going to happen is there's going to be a little hump. Even if I can get all the way to the depot, which appears to be on the opposite side of town.
It's the opposite side of town.
There's going to be a little hump, and I'm not going to be able to get over it.
Oh man, I'm not ever going to get over this. Rotate.
Oh, we're stalling traffic. Just overtake us, you guys. We're clearly having problems.
Somebody has a fucking siren back on.
Yeah, I've never seen that, and it's a little confusing. It's kind of pretty, but we gotta keep our eyes on the prize here.
I don't see why. It's a straight shot. Let's move the camera around a little bit.
Okay.
Can we get a shot of what's going on?
Someone from Crops can save us. I mean, what we should do, of course, is pull over, detach our trailer, get out of the truck, walk over to the depot, say, "Can someone go pick up?"
How about walk over to the gas station and get some gas?
Ah, fuck it, right. Like, God, I'm really close to that gas station, but I'm not gonna make it. Too bad. If my engine had given out, maybe 10 seconds later, I could have made it to that gas station.
We've come to a complete stop.
Let's see where we get to. Hopefully, straight to Kayenta.
Well, thankfully that costs less than the red light did.
I'm in Page.
Where the fuck is Page?
It's a short drive from Kayenta. Do you want to?
Oh, we
better spend the extra time.
We'd better. I mean, my laundry will get cold, but what can you do?
More laundry. Terrible. Okay, is there a gas station here in Page?
You have gas.
Not much. I guess it's enough. Hopefully.
Yeah. No.
You're more. What if we stall on the way to Kayenta a second time?
You're more at risk of passing out.
That's true. Excuse me.
Or
I'm in a hurry.
You know, or that.
Other passive entertainment. Obviously, Trucks is exactly the kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
A game that I use for similar purposes, because it's difficult for me to play Trucks when we're not recording at this point.
Yeah.
As much as I like it. Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous claims to be a complicated economics multiplayer situation. It's not that. It's a game about docking and undocking from space stations, and it's the best possible version of that. It's so good. When you now they recently patched it so that when you request docking permission, it's not just the computer saying docking permission accepted or granted or whatever. There's actually a voice on the radio, and the voice varies depending on what political faction owns the station. They say things like, yeah. I can't remember what they say. You know, they say generic sci-fi shit at you about how your thrusters are such and your power whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's so good. And the insides of the stations are beautiful. This game has a certain measure to it because it's one of the most graphically impressive games I've ever seen, but 90% of the time there's nothing on the screen. Just the empty space backdrop. So when something does come into your screen, whether that be another ship or the space station, it's stunningly beautiful. And this just comes in bursts at you.
There you go.
It's
art. That's art.
Yeah, it's the perfect experience of being a space trucker, which is everybody's secret fantasy, isn't it? Did you not read...
This entire process is basically us assuming that our particular idiosyncrasies are universalizable.
Fine, but if you've never fantasized about having a blue-collar space job, I don't understand you.
And having blue-collar space sex, of course.
Well, yes.
We discussed earlier.
This is going to be the thing that makes me famous eventually, is my blue-collar space sex. But I'm getting tired. Did you know that?
Yeah. This is exactly the kind of road to have that level effect on, too.
Yeah.
It's so straight.
And
this place is so curvy.
At the risk of repeating myself, Elite Dangerous is the perfect game to listen to podcasts while playing.
You're certainly less likely to intermittently tear your headphones off and fling them across the room. If you're, say, playing Gungeon,
yeah,
and you've drunk it down to the most difficult things, as I have, and now it's just about doing things that you shouldn't have to do.
I'm going pedal to the metal here. Gotta get to Kayenta before I fall asleep.
I gotta get to Kayenta before my laundry gets cold.
Look at this dangerous speed I'm going at for the sake of your laundry.
This is amazing. I'm kind of really enjoying this. I feel like trucks should go at 80 miles an hour more often.
Oh, this turn is going to be extremely deadly.
Don't tip over.
What the fuck? Some kind of sugar melt. It's beautiful.
Whoa, yeah, that...
The turn wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
I'm pretty decent at Wipeout.
There it is.
We're
There it is. We're getting there.
The wonderful thing about passive entertainment is that it is occasionally gripping, right?
Yeah.
Those
There,
moments.
and I mean that's the roguelike thing. There are moments
Yeah.
when you are suddenly committed.
Yeah.
Committed. When that thing that seemed impossible, nope, fuck you, nope, bye.
Beautiful.
Oh, that was genius.
There's the siren guy.
Yep. He's still there.
I think I might have to hit the brakes here. Let me just skate around you guys a little bit.
Oh, that's your turn.
Yeah, we're fine. We literally can't go that way.
Oh, it only costs $660 if you run a red light that's on the edge of oblivion.
I couldn't read where the road sign said that led.
Fairmont,
Oh.
which I'm assuming is in New Mexico
Yeah, I think so.
or Nevada.
Well, thank you for joining us in this super lackadaisical, not that lackadaisical, this unpredictable series of ours, which we think is relaxing but is occasionally about extremely dangerous.
Truck situations.
Yes.
Thank you for being harrowed alongside us. And now, Josh.
What do you think? What do you listen to for passive
going to
entertainment when
park
you
the
want to
truck.
shut your brain off? Leave us a comment in the comments and press the like, subscribe button.
I gotta go with my laundry.
Goodbye.